What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well. How are you this finally cool fall day? Well, today was a little bit warmer,
Today
but
was a
like
little bit warm. But
this
compared
weekend,
to,
oh my God.
this past weekend was glorious. And
Glorious.
I just started up another round of pickleball.
Hell yeah.
And unlike last time, where even at 7 p.m. in the evening, it was 105 degrees outside.
Terrible.
This time, oh my God.
It's glorious.
Glorious
Perfect.
outside.
Wonderful.
Low 80s.
Love to hear it.
No humidity, no mosquitoes, beautiful sunset, and had a couple of really great games. Lost all of them, but still had a lot of fun.
Had a lot of fun along
Had
the way.
a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we are like, we haven't been able to go play tennis in a while, and we are chomping at the bit because it just like we are ready to go because it just feels so nice outside, and it's just like why do anything else?
Now that you and Sam are into tennis, I should have thought of this sooner. I have got to send you one of the famous Game Grumps clips of them playing like a 60s or 70s Atari tennis game.
Oh, I bet that's fun.
It is the worst game you've ever seen, but there's just this long spiel of them going back and forth just saying, tennis, tennis,
I did.
tennis.
I did start, and I need to go back and finish it. The Star Wars chess video you shared of theirs.
It was so
I
funny.
want to get into that one
So
because I
that
feel like
one-
if there's any video that's going to finally like sell, no reason that I've been avoiding their content. It's just hard to get into
just
another
doesn't
person's
speak to
content.
everyone, yeah.
And so I feel like if any video is going to get me into the grumps, it's this one.
So the thing that I feel like about that video that is super hilarious is it is a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to stick with it because then the repetitive nature of the jokes just really starts to double down and
Yeah.
it gets funnier and funnier as you go.
I'm really planning. I was like waiting for a probably actually tomorrow, like when I'm editing this up and everything like that, doing like the
put it on in the background.
But yeah, doing like the thumbnail art and everything like that.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll put that on and listen to it and have a great time.
Plus, Aaron's voice, Game Grumps Aaron, he does two really good voices, both for Palpatine, extremely funny, and his Yoda voice also kills.
Oh, fantastic.
So definitely go listen to that episode. You don't even have to watch it. Just
Yeah.
listen to it.
Because
The
I looked at
action-
the game itself is old as hell.
But so you will appreciate this. Each of the chess interactions had its own animation.
Oh, so it's like the old chess game I used to play, Battle Chess.
Yes, it is like battle
my
chess.
God. Okay, yes.
So like
I'm
they have
super
very
into this then.
specific character
Never mind, it's the
interactions
greatest
of like
game ever.
what happens when Leia kills Vader.
Yeah.
What happens when Vader kills Yoda. So you have to go watch
Okay,
it
yeah,
and actually
I do.
watch
I
the
do.
animations.
Okay, I'll knock that out for
Very
sure.
funny. And if anybody needs a Game Grumps rec, go watch Star Wars Chess. It is hilarious.
Nice. Well, you can watch Star Wars chess, or you can hang out here with us as we get to talk about some of our favorite video game soundtracks because we are back with Volume 7.
Oh my God.
We've done so many, although it has been a very long time since our last one.
So I was racking my brains trying to figure out when the last time we did one was because I was trying to figure out what games I had potentially not covered during
Yeah,
that
yeah.
period. And I couldn't find like our last episode just because YouTube's search algorithm sucks now.
I forgot to, we have a whole playlist of just our soundtrack episodes, and I forgot to add it there.
I
So,
noticed.
yeah,
I was like,
need
I'm going to have to speak to the manager.
I need to update it.
But
Sorry, everyone.
I did find it, and on the video it says, "Oh, this video is from last year." Last year they meant January of last year, so
right at
it
the
has
beginning.
it has almost been 2 years actually since we did our last installment.
Way overdue.
Overdue,
So we've got some great soundtracks ready and lined up for y'all to get to listen to. But before we get into that, if you want to listen to new episodes of Team Chat Podcast, well, you can do that by going to your podcast service around the World Wide Web or watching a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Threads, or Instagram. You can also join our Discord server where we have a lot of great conversation when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, you can do that. Whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. And in return, we give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general weekly release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. And you know who makes up that Rogues Gallery? Well, cool people such as Allison H, Art, Brandon W, Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L, Elise F, James K, Michael B, Michael S, Snooty Boots, Susan M, and Zach S. As well with that, you also get our special for the $5 tier. You also get our special show, Team Chit Chat, which we are bringing back. Our new episode will be coming out this week. Also for our patrons of the $5 tier, and you get that early for a week on that one before that goes out.
We just
for general
recorded a
release.
fun
So we
one.
just recorded the first Back at It episode, so it's going to be fun. So check your Patreon inboxes for that coming up soon. But if you can't do that, that's no big deal at all. We totally understand. A lot going on in the world and all that stuff. But you can support the show and help it grow for free, such as telling your friends, writing us reviews, or subscribing wherever you're listening to or watching the episodes, out there in the web. But for each and every one of our patrons, viewers, and listeners alike, thank you. We love you. We're glad you're here.
XOXO smooches.
Heart emoji. Boom. All right, but before we get into talking about all the music of video games, let's get a little bit of news and what's coming out soon in our moment with Mogan.
All right, we'll talk about the big news after we blaze through these games. So, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, what a name, is out on September 12th for PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Also on the 12th, we have I think we mentioned last time, the Jackbox Naughty Pack for PC. Hollow Body is also coming out on the 12th for PC. That is one word, Hollow Body. Tragically not Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Will it ever come out?
It will never come out.
Out?
Lollipop Chainsaw Repop is out for PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on the 12th. Also Wild Bastards. we still don't know what the game is about, but the title is so fun to say.
Damn, we want to play it.
Damn, we want to play it. Wild Bastards is out for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. And then on the 13th, we have Funko Fusion, which I'm not even going to tell you what it's for because I'm sure it is bad.
It basically is like Funko in every property they have.
It sounds like an
Licensing
excuse
for.
to create NFTs, and I'm not going to support that. So instead, we're moving on to Phoenix Springs is releasing for PC on September 16th, my sister's birthday.
Very fun.
By the way,
Happy
her
early
social
birthday.
security number is. Throne and Liberty is coming out on the 17th for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Final Fantasy 16 is getting its PC port.
Very
so this
cool.
is the PC port for the latest mainline Final Fantasy game that is coming out on the 17th as well. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming to PS4
Getting
and,
its true
and Xbox One.
That'll
Yep.
be cool for people getting to experience that one. A great, fantastic game, obviously.
And
Listen
then-
to our review.
A little indie pick that I have actually been quietly watching for a long, long time is coming out, The Plucky Squire.
Okay, that looks so fun.
Plucky Squire looks pretty
It's
awesome.
Devolver Digital.
It
So,
looks
A, what else do you
cute.
need to know?
It's bound to be short, so surely
Yeah.
we can play it.
But it looks so good.
It looks
It
so
literally is
good.
like the children's storybook, and it plays. It like pages turn and everything. It looks so
cute.
good.
That is coming out for almost everything: PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on the 17th. On the 18th, we have UFO 50 for PC. Also on the 18th, Enotria, The Last Song. Or Enotria. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But that is for PC and PS5. And then closing us out on the 19th, God of War Ragnarok is getting its PC port.
Very cool.
We also have Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars for PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on the 19th. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is coming out for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. Oh, God, this one's so disappointing to talk about. Monument Valley, the new one. But this
3?
is the Netflix exclusive,
Yep.
is coming out on the 19th as well, which is just tragic. So if you're not familiar with Netflix games, you do have to be a Netflix paid subscriber of whatever tier. And then you download the Netflix app on your phone or your TV, I think.
Yeah, you can do it on your TV too.
And that's how you can get in and play these games. It's too bad because they do at least have a couple of quality games in there. But Monument Valley is one of the best like handheld puzzle series, period. And it just really sucks that the next installment is not being made available to everybody.
Yeah.
That blows.
Yeah, that's kind of. It's just weird seeing Netflix in the game space, but I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense.
They've been
the
around for a
platform.
while.
Yeah.
Because I remember writing about Netflix games back when I was still writing about mobile games,
Right.
which has been years now. And I guess they're finally trying to ramp up
getting
their
that
efforts in the
foothold.
space. But yeah, that sucks. but if you have Netflix, the game is out and Monument Valley is great. So consider checking that out. For everybody else, fuck you, I guess.
All right, well, before we jump to the main topic, we do have another big bit of news that was actually announced today on September 10th, 2024, and that is the PS5 Pro. It's real, and it's coming soon-ish.
The Mad Lads, and I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on the word mad there, finally did it.
And so it's looking like the big things coming to the PS5 Pro. This is from a PlayStation blog post, also published today by Hideaki Nishino. says that we're going to be looking at an upgraded GPU. With the PS5 Pro, we are upgrading to a GPU that has 67% more compute units than the current PS5 console and 28% faster memory. I'm not going to pretend to know what compute units are.
Why don't they call them compunits? What is up with that?
Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making the experience much smoother. It's also going to have advanced ray tracing. We've added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast at double and at times triple the speeds of the current PS5 console. And there's also going to be AI-driven upscaling. We're also introducing PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, an AI-driven upscaling that uses a machine learning-based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail.
So when I read this as someone that works in marketing, those first two bullets were probably provided by somebody that knows what they're doing. That last bullet was written exclusively by somebody in the marketing department, because Spectral Super Resolution is perhaps the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Because you can't just say HD anymore. You can't say HDR. You can't say 4K HDR
Oh my
anymore.
God.
You gotta have that next name that puts it above.
So stupid. Also, that was probably for investors, like the heavy emphasis on AI. They were like, look, investors, we swear we're keeping up with the times. Give us more money.
We're innovating. But I mean, how that comes to work and how that will be implemented could be good. Like if you're playing, like I'm not expecting you to open up like a PS3 game and it suddenly looks like it was made in 2024.
I am.
But it still could be interesting to see what that does and like how that does actually like improve an older game's performance and look. Curious to see how that comes out.
It could have. This is just. I just in my mind, I'm thinking it could have the opposite effect.
It could create monsters.
It could create some horrible monsters out there.
But it says
we've seen what AI can do.
That's true. We have seen. I follow the weird AI subreddits. It's weird and bonkers out there.
They're popular on our Discord.
That's true. Other enhancements include the PS5 Pro Game Boost, which can apply to more than 8,500 backward compatible PS4 games playable on PS5 Pro.
That's nice.
This feature may stabilize or improve the performance of supported PS4 and PS5 games. Enhanced image quality for PS4 games is also available to improve the resolution on select PS4 games. PS5 Pro will also launch with the latest wireless technology, Wi-Fi 7, in territories supporting the standard. VRR and 8K gaming are also supported.
Yeah, and speaking of those games that they sort of mentioned, they do go on to specify a few that are actually like really popular. Like they said, it will work with Alan Wake 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I mean, that's obviously a newer game and already looks incredible, but that's just to give you an example. Horizon Forbidden West.
The new Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's not even out yet, is
Creed.
also going to be benefiting from some of this stuff. Yeah. And so they go on to talk about the price. It is going to be $700.
That is
insane. And it's going to be diskless, but you can buy for extra, $80 extra, a external CD drive to be able to play your physical game still. And also for $29 extra, you can get a sweet vertical stand.
Oh my God.
But, so obviously, we're looking at some performance upgrades. How do we feel about this?
I cannot get past the sticker shock. Like the fact that in this economy, they're going to come to market with a $700 console when the games themselves are already $70 to $80.
Yes.
It's like, first of all, if I bought the console, I would never be able to afford another game. So I am obviously not going to be purchasing this.
Yeah.
It took me long enough to even get a PS5 at all. I've got the PS5 Slim, and none of the games that I personally play, I will care about this. I just won't.
I think that's honestly the big thing for me with this is like the Pro in and of itself. To me, this kind of reads as it's the thing where they're setting it up, especially with the comments of like specifically highlighting ray tracing and the ability and upgrading the ray tracing. Extreme super high def ray tracing is normally something you're getting and pulling out of a PC.
Yes.
So to me, this feels like it's for the people who want the like really high end raw power that you get from a PC, but not the hassle of like the upgrades, the like different driver updates and all that, the more all-in-one convenience that a console provides and has always provided. Now it's just giving you like, here's the next step, more powerful step up. Is that for everybody? No, I don't think so. It's not for me because for the same reason. Unless I have both of them open on TVs in front of me, one running off of my base PS5 and one running off of my base PS5 Pro,
I'm not going to
I'm
know
not
the
going to
difference.
notice the difference. And it's not going to be so big of a difference that I'm going to trade in my PS5 for $200 maybe to $250 maybe on a good day,
Maybe.
to then offset the then still having to pay $500 to get that
Yeah.
upgrade.
Absolutely
And even it being a full digital console doesn't necessarily shock me. I mean, you have the option for the added on external drive, but it doesn't shock me. It just shows that the next console, PS6, will definitely be digital only.
It doesn't shock me. It does offend me. Like that was
Well,
the
yeah.
immediate reaction I had to that.
As we lovers of physical media, as we see that go more and more by the wayside, it's definitely hard to see. But
Which I just don't trust at all. I mean, that's just rife ground for them to take back your games, which we have seen other companies do.
that's true. That's true.
So I am not on board with that.
But the PS4 5 Pro will launch on November 7th, and you can pre-order it on September 26th. So
Which definitely didn't give all the parents out there enough time to set up a separate savings account for the fucking
they're reworking their whole
$700
Christmas list for this year.
PS5.
But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how it
boy.
goes. And I am curious to see what some of the upscaling stuff will do for older games and different things like that. But,
I am sure it will
Will it
look
have a huge
very
impact?
pretty. I'm sure
Yes.
that lots of people,
I like
maybe
the design
not,
of it, too.
Yeah, maybe not lots of people, but some people that can afford it, I'm sure are going to have a great time. I just in this economy,
Yeah.
I just can't get
It's a
past
little
it.
pricey. It's a little pricey, for
That
sure.
is the price of a cell phone. Like
I tried to see-
a
yeah.
required item that you need for daily life, and this thing's $700.
Yeah. I tried to see what the price of the base PS5 back in 2020 when it came out compares to in 2024 dollars, and it's worth $500 then is $565 now. So it's not even that you can't even say oh, it's inflation.
I would say that that's more based on the exchange rate because, and in terms of inflation, I think the cost has gone up because relative to everything else that you have to pay for.
Right.
That's what I'm saying is everything else already costs more. How are we also
Now
going
we're
to
supposed
afford
to
this?
Pay up for this. But yeah, I'm curious to see how it performs, but it's definitely not a big enough selling point to switch over for me.
Hell no.
But we sped through all that. Let's say it's here, it's gone, whatever, it's done. It's time to talk about music. Video game music that provides sweet sounds to our ears that we love so much.
I can't believe you didn't go into the sad. Have you seen the Phantom of the Opera?
No.
I thought for sure you were going to say something like, and now it's time to go into my music. Because there's this very specific line from the movie / musical where he says it just like that. And it has stayed in my brain forever. And it just would have been so funny.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
No one but me, I think, would have gotten it, but I would have died.
But yes, we are here to talk about one of our favorite video game topics, and that is the music of video games. If you've followed the show for any amount of time, you know that Mogan and I can't get enough. Although, in prepping for this episode, kind of made me feel like I've been dropping the ball on listening to soundtracks
a little
lately.
bit.
I was kind of having to I was kind of having to dig. Not to be oh, what's actually good, but which ones did I feel worthy?
Yes, that's
to
the
bring
thing.
forward.
Is because you can't just first of all, I think I did go back and watch our previous episode, and I completely stand by all of my choices. But it was sort of a case of oops, all bangers. Which, to be fair,
Because it was Paradise Killer, right?
yeah, it was Paradise
went and looked,
Killer.
too.
I talked about Death's Door.
Oh, yeah.
Two of the best soundtracks
So good.
in gaming.
So good.
And previous to that, of course, I've talked at length about Hollow Knight, which, to be fair, they are all incredible soundtracks. But for that reason, this time around, I tried to mix it up a little bit more and talk a little bit more about some of the other purposes that a video game soundtrack is meant to serve, other than just being a killer banger that you can put on and jam to while you're doing spreadsheets at work.
Well, I'm excited to hear what our selections for the day. Do you want to start or should I?
I don't know if mine is too low energy to
To start with? All right, I'll start us off then. Mine is higher energy. So I think we have for each 1 to 2-ish songs per.
I've got 3 for my final one, but you'll understand when we get there. You'll understand when we get there.
All right, well, let's get this started off then. My first pick for Soundtrack Spotlight Volume 7 is one that's from a recent game. Came out this year. It is one
this year.
Mortal Kombat. Oh, last year, actually, sorry. Mortal Kombat 1.
I saw the tab pulled up and I was like, wait a second, that game came out
I had
this
to
year.
do prepare, so I'm gonna have to feign all my excitement for Mogan's picks because I had to go ahead and pull up the clips so we can listen to them. So these are all brand new, fresh picks to me. I've never heard of these.
We have to get through the ads, people. It's for your own benefit.
All right, but so the first, so I wanted to talk about Mortal Kombat. It was Mortal Kombat 1. This game was composed by Wilbert Roger II.
What a name!
I know, right? So official. So,
Wow,
I love it.
Tell me one.
Wilbert Roger II.
Wilbert Roger the Second. That's a villain.
I love it.
That's
I love
a villain somewhere.
Actually, done quite a few soundtracks and stuff that has a pretty good catalog of work that he's done. But Mortal Kombat 1, I think it just kind of stuck out to me in that it wasn't necessarily something that I've noticed as much when I was playing. Other than, I will say, the main theme when you open up the game on the sound on the opening menus and stuff like that, and that's playing in the background. It is a very good track, and it's actually one that I'm going to be bringing up and playing today. But having going through and listening to the soundtrack after playing some, I guess the right word is shocked a little bit or surprised in just how damn good of a soundtrack it is for, not trying to throw shade, but for a fighting game. You know what I mean? Like, it's,
as a Tekken player,
now,
I
know
couldn't be
that
more offended.
Tekken, though, I feel like is its own thing in that, like, it's just wild. You expect craziness from Tekken. You expect like just some like ridiculous tracks that we have like enjoyed the hell out of in Tekken 8 as we've been playing through there. But just, I don't know, like it just kind of feels like to me, just some of the songs of this went really hard. And I was just like, damn, that's not what I was necessarily expecting from Mortal Kombat. And I do understand you do have to have, like, each stage has its own theme and everything like that in Mortal Kombat 1. And actually what's cool is different composers did those different themes.
Right.
Like in this one, Wilbert Roger is the second is the main composer for the game, but also features Casey Edwards and Nathan Grigg, who's done...
Casey Musgraves?
Spacey Casey, that's her. Nathan Grigg, who has done, I believe I maybe talked about it on a previous one, the Shadows of Mordor soundtrack and stuff.
You have.
Joel Korolitz, Dan Nigovan,
Joel Osteen,
Dean Grisfelder, Dan Forden, and Stephanie Economou. And so, great work all the way around. But I do want to focus on the first one of just the Mortal Kombat theme, which is A New Era. And it's great because, I don't know, the whole soundtrack just kind of gives like a... If this makes sense, this combination of words makes sense. A techno fantasy martial arts pairing. It's kind of got some stuff that like sounds very much like, oh yeah, this is out of like a kung fu movie from the 80s or something like that. But it also has some like more modern sounds and feels to it that you would kind of see like out of the recent Mortal Kombat movie that just came out a couple years ago now by now. But like the final song, the credits song of the Mortal Kombat movie, like it's kind of even like referenced a little bit using like the test your might and the, and all the other different sound cues and vocal cues and everything that are in the game. A new challenger approaches, exactly. So it just really is great because, like I said, it's energetic, it's action packed, but this opening theme, I don't feel like when it starts is what you would expect from Mortal Kombat. It's very slow. It's very like, it kind of like takes a second to build. So I'm not going to like start it right at the beginning, but I am going to just kind of like start it a little bit before when it starts ramping up. And you get this just like, oh, fired up feel of like, oh yeah, let's get it. Let's get into some Mortal Kombat. Got those drums in the background.
Yeah, those taiko drums.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But what I love is just when the strings kick in here in a second.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's just driving. It's just like, oh, let's get it. Let's go. And then it picks up with the extra strings of cello in the background. Oh, it's so good.
Ooh, the shamisen.
See? It's just some good stuff there.
Oh,
and
that
it just
is good
really
stuff.
just gets you into the mood for combat. So I love it so much.
Oh my God, those taiko drums. And then with the addition, I wasn't expecting the brass section to come in there. I am such a sucker for cello, just period.
Right?
It's one
And
of my
like
favorite
how it like just like
instruments.
dropped in perfectly there
Oh,
near
yeah.
the beginning before the extra the dun da 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 da.
It sets the
kicked in.
pace
Oh, yeah.
immediately. Like it's kind of that like heart pounding sort of feeling that you
like
get.
I said, it gets you amped.
Yeah.
But now my second pick that I wanted to do, and this one is actually by Nathan Grigg. It's one of the stage themes for the Wuxi Academy. This is one that I was talking about where I'm just like, oh, it goes hard, and I wasn't expecting it.
I'm
So
excited.
let's
I've never
listen
heard
to this.
any of the music for the Mortal Kombat
Oh,
games
see, now you're
before,
gonna have to go and do
except
it.
for the main theme that everybody knows from the 80s.
Right, but now you're gonna have to go back and listen because this game's great.
I'm ready.
Here we go. Wuxi Academy. Like, oh yeah, I'm ready. 3, 2, 1, fight. Let's go. But I love this little drop that's coming up. It's so good.
That
And
is
what's
so
nice
fun.
is that this continues to build. The speed increases and everything as the song continues to go on. I can turn that down a little bit. It's probably bleeding over into the mics. But yeah, it's just, I love.
That part's fun.
But listen to this when it gets to be about. Oh, I think it's like here.
Break it down.
Right? Oh, that might be the end of it. It like goes like even faster.
Well, they're
This
doing
might be
something
coming up here. Yeah, it might be building. Yeah. Just fingers are on fire.
Yeah. Actually, so while we're watching the videos that are basically just the soundtrack videos,
Yeah.
and speaking of being on fire, like the Mortal Kombat 1 logo in the background has animated flames on it.
It's so
it
good.
really fits.
But just like that intensity, I love how it just like builds each time. And
yeah.
I'm blanking on what that instrument is called, but it still is just that string instrument. And it's
It
just
might be a shamisen.
okay.
It might be. I am not certain about that.
Smarter people can fill us in on that. But I just love I would love a video of the recording session of this song specifically, just to like see him just going nuts on it.
Oh, maybe a
great.
mandolin?
I mean, it does sound like a mandolin a little bit, but
There are 1,000 different types of
exactly,
mandolins. by
yeah,
the
they're
way.
all over
Yeah,
the place.
yeah.
So yeah, who knows? But I love it. And so the Wuxi Academy is a fantastic track. But yeah, give the rest of the Mortal Kombat 1 soundtrack a go because it's fantastic.
It does sound, I mean, both tracks, this one in particular, the Wuxi Academy, so fun. I mean, I feel like we should just go with the theme and charge straight into my pick, which, speaking of Tekken,
Oh, is it Tekken?
it has to be Tekken.
I didn't pick Tekken because there was like a
Yeah.
before I knew what you had picked. I was like,
There's no way
there's
she's not
no way
going to do
she's
Tekken
not
8.
talking about Tekken.
There's no way that I can't bring up what is really, I mean, truly, spoiler alert for the end of the year recap. It is exceptionally unlikely that anything is going to take my personal Game of the Year title away from Tekken 8.
Right.
It is a long-awaited sequel, and on top of that, it fucking rules.
It's just damn good.
It's so good and fun.
Yeah.
And a mainstay. One of the identifying pieces of Tekken's entire personality, its identity, its atmosphere has always been the music.
Yeah.
The Tekken music, except for sort of Tekken 1. Tekken 1 was kind of like finding its musical feet.
Sure.
And it was pretty different than what you immediately started to get in Tekken 2. Like Tekken 2 is where I would say the Tekken soundtracks really sort of got a solidified identity.
Sure.
And all the way up into Tekken 8, there are a few pretty specific tracks that make up the game that I think, even if I didn't know that this was from Tekken, I would know it was from Tekken.
Okay,
So
all right.
let's start
Well, here,
with
you go ahead and
one of my
you run the ship
personal...
for this.
So something else I want to mention about sort of the purpose of Tekken soundtracks. So this first theme that we're going to do is Twilight Party Cruise Normal. So each of the Tekken 8 tracks has two versions, actually, at least as far as the stages go. So Twilight Party Cruise Cruise is, I think, Victor's stage, and it's along a party boat on the Seine in Paris. It's sunset, it's beautiful. People are partying on the boat, having a good time.
I think probably my second favorite of the Tekken songs.
This is your second favorite?
Yeah, I think so. It's up there.
You'll have to tell me what your first is after we're done listening to it. But so all of these stage soundtracks actually have two versions. So we're going to listen to Twilight Party Cruise parentheses normal, but then there's a second version, Twilight Party Cruise critical finale.
Okay.
Crisis. I forget what they call it, but it's basically the pumped up kicks version because it assumes that you are at the final match between you and your opponent.
Right.
So whatever that sort of match point is going to be, that's when the more intense version of the track kicks in. But for these purposes, we are going to listen to Twilight Party Cruise normal. Hit that play button. Oh, and we're going to start from the very beginning.
Let's go. Listen to those horns.
You're not expecting the trumpet, are you?
No.
In Tekken? God forbid.
Tekken trumpets?
And actually, back in the day, you wouldn't have heard trumpets in Tekken. Oh, wait, here comes the Tekken. Here it comes, baby.
It's building. That bass.
God, when the bass kicks in and like the electro dance beat and God, so good.
So good.
Let's just let the people soak it in for a second.
It Tekken, see, but this is what I mean. Like, this is what I expect from a fighting game soundtrack.
Tekken, and that's because Tekken is they don't break the mold, they are making the mold.
True.
They make the trend that everyone else follows.
But so now you can understand, like, having heard this and everything like that from Tekken stuff, and then jumping into Mortal Kombat 1, and it just like really has that more like orchestral score to it, I would say.
More acoustic, more orchestral.
Yeah.
Tekken's soundtrack obviously does include acoustic instruments like the brass you just heard, but it is also very synth and electro heavy.
Yes.
Many of the tracks are like that, where they might have a little bit of acoustics on the side, but predominantly or entirely they are electronic tracks.
Yeah.
But Tekken lore and Tekken styles vary wildly because obviously, as you now know with Tekken, the entire roster is from all around the world.
Right.
So you get a lot of different influences there. So now we're going to listen to Twilight Party Cruise Climax.
Oh.
That's the word that I was looking for. Not critical, not crisis. I just couldn't remember what it was. So now I want you to basically hear the exact same track, but flavored a little bit differently. Flavored to the max.
Ooh.
So let's look at Twilight Party Cruise Climax.
It's the heavy club beats.
It's immediately heavier. It's a little bit grittier. It's grungier. Like it's got a little bit more stank on the synths.
A little more distortion. But then you get that sax.
Yeah!
And like, the people judged Kenny G too harshly. The saxophone is incredible when used inappropriately in songs for a 6-sax solo. Like, man, it's so good.
I mean, to be fair, Kenny G was not playing like this, but if he had been...
People wouldn't have made a mockery out of him.
People wouldn't have made fun of him so much. So the anatomy of a Tekken song, and I'm sure the Mortal Kombat songs, and really most fighting game songs are probably very similar, because at least with modern fighting games, whenever you begin a match, unless you skip through them, each character sort of has like an intro video.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the soundtracks for Tekken, you might notice that the first 15 to 20 seconds of any track is either a lot like more of a lead up to it's that crescendo leading up to whatever's going to come next.
Yeah.
Or it might be a little bit more experimental. Like with Twilight Party Cruise Normal, you heard at the beginning what sounded like a little bit more improvised jazz. Mm-hmm. And then it went into what is a very sort of structured beat heavy song because you need that beat to sort of be able to play your best game while you're trying to focus, you're trying to get those combos.
It keeps you like zoned in.
Exactly. It's supposed to keep you zoned in. So all of them are going to have that little bit of like introductory music and then go into what people would consider to be like the meat of the track.
Right.
And I just love the way that Tekken does it. They didn't always have this structure of sort of the normal mode and then like an enhanced mode, for lack of a better word. I'm not sure if this is new to Tekken 8. I don't remember it being in Tekken 7, but I also didn't play Tekken 7 nearly as much as I have played 8. So obviously don't quote me on that. I truly do not know. But Tekken 8's soundtrack is incredible. Twilight Twilight Party Cruise is one of my favorites. What's your favorite?
It's the whichever one is Azucena, the coffee farm, Ortiz Coffee Farm.
Ortiz Coffee Farm. God,
Such a
that
fun-
track is
such a
so
fun
fun.
bop.
And a completely different vibe.
Completely
Because you're
different.
in Peru, it's different. You go from being on a river on the Seine to being in the Andes Mountains. They have to be very different, and yet they still manage to find a pretty cohesive identity.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention the composer of Twilight Party Cruise because, to be perfectly honest, I could not figure out which of the many composers that contributed to the Tekken 8 soundtrack was specifically responsible for that one. I think there were at least, I want to say, a minimum of 8 composers that wrote and contributed songs for Tekken 8. There may have been more than that. It may have been more like 10 people. But a lot of those composers were returning composers. They've made music for Tekken in the past. They're seasoned pros. They get it. They get the identity.
They know what they're supposed to be doing.
They understand the assignment, and they execute on that so well. So Tekken 8, the entire soundtrack slaps. But even if for some reason you didn't like it, you can go into arcade...
Jukebox thing?
Jukebox, yes.
I was thinking that's where you were going with it.
You can go into the jukebox and switch out any stage for any other past Tekken track that you want.
That's so cool.
Which is just such a wonderful feature. So they know, Tekken knows that you're there for the music.
Oh, yeah.
They totally get it.
Not there for the fighting.
No.
You're there for the music.
I'm not good enough at that. I just need to lose
I'm
to
here to
good
vibe
music.
and have a good time.
Yeah, I'm here to vibe. Especially when you're Lars player. You're just there to dance. I'm just there to dance.
And with bops like these, how can you not? You know, how can you not? Well, I'm going to take things to a little slower pace, I think, for my next one. But one that also is hitting, like, it hits hard, but in a different way. It's the one that pulls on the old heartstrings a little bit. Pulls on the emotions. And it is the soundtrack for Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, a track I really haven't heard much.
So this stuff is, it's not the one that I've like poured over a ton either, but from the bits that it come on like my shuffled playlist on Spotify and everything like that, every single one that I hear, I take pause to. And I'm like, oh, what is this? Because the Ghost of Tsushima soundtrack is just fitting it's a score fitting of like one of the old epics, like epic movies, like that you would think of either of another samurai drama of, you know, of Kurosawa's day, or something even more grander, you know, like old of like Lawrence of Arabia or something like that. Just like huge sweeping score and everything that just takes fully into effect all that you're experiencing and seeing while playing this game. In fact, one of the greatest moments of Ghost of Tsushima is the title card reveal in the game, where you're on the run. You've just got you got on your horse and you're like running away, going through. Because I believe, if I'm right, it's been a little over a year since I played the game, so I might be confusing the timeline. But it is after, I believe, the opening battle. You were defeated and you're on the run trying to like get to a safe place. And, you know, you're going through this, you've been riding on this road, and then all of a sudden you just like go into this field of this white wheat grass that you see in the cover art here for the soundtrack. And it's just this, and then it just like slowly Ghost of Tsushima like fades in, and just like with this crescendo of strings, and it is fantastic. So this game's score was composed by Ilan Eshkeri and Shigeru Umebayashi. And the first ones that I want to highlight, or actually, I want to read a little bit of a interview.
Actually, guys, we're just going to listen to the entire.
We're just going to listen to.
We're
going to
sit here for a few hours.
But we're just a little bit of an interview with Ilan Eshkeri, talking about like how he kind of like came up with this process for creating this music of Ghost of Tsushima. Quote, "From the first moment of the first meeting, I realized that Ghost was about a very powerful emotional journey. The team at Sucker Punch and PlayStation were inspiring and generous with their creativity, so I immediately knew that I was going to love working on the game. Jen's theme, The Way of the Ghost," which is what I'll be playing here shortly, "was one of the very first pieces I wrote. Usually productions are ready for music after everyone else has been working on the game. As much as you might understand the story, it always takes time to really get under the skin and appreciate the depth of well-written characters and story. While some of my first sketches evolved, this theme really stuck. It's all about how the people of Tsushima see him. He's their hero, strong, infallible, inspiring, and full of hope. But what really fascinated me about Jin is the contrast of what's going on inside him. In order to save his home and the people he loves, he must go against everything he was taught to believe in and break the code of the samurai. Throughout the game, Jin is a character in deep emotional conflict, and this above all else is what drew me to Ghost. And that really echoes what I pick up on. And the second track that I'm going to be playing, Sacrifice of Tradition, it is one that really, I think, focuses and somewhat highlights that internal/external struggle that Jin is going through as you're playing this game. Because the whole thing is he's raised through the honor code of the samurai. Then he realizes to fight the Mongol horde, he can't necessarily do every fight super honorable in the code of the samurai. He has to maybe take more underhanded tactics, more stealth, more
Sometimes
assassination, kind of stuff like that. Exactly. And so it's really just the whole game is Jin trying to live up to the what is expected of him, but then also combating what he feels like he must do. And I feel like the soundtrack really just brings all of those themes together in such a fantastic way. And so I want to get to those sound bits here in just a second, but this is where I wanted to focus on because he actually talks about some of the instruments that he uses for
nice.
Instrument dumb people like me who don't.
We just know big guitar.
I'm just
little guitar.
That sounds
bigger
Japanese.
Guitar.
But what makes this music? I don't know. And so it says. It goes on to say, the historical setting is fascinating. I began to study ancient Japanese music, folk songs, court music, sacred music, and taiko, as well as the different pentatonic scales used in Japanese music. It's a very rich world full of lifetimes worth of exploration. But the game score, I used shukahachi, which is the bamboo flute.
Ooh, wonderful.
Koto, which is a stringed instrument, kind of like a steel guitar would be the American equivalent, I would say, not in sound, but just in look, where you sit at it and the chords are laid out, the strings are laid out horizontally. You don't hold it.
Other people might know them as hammer mandolins.
Oh yeah, dulcimers, things like that.
Yeah, dulcimers, that kind of thing.
And then,
but they're big. Kotos are typically big.
Yeah, very big. Shamisen. I wrote down what the
shamisen.
Yeah, shamisen. Oh, I missed that one. And then taiko drums. Yes. And so both of these tracks that I'm going to play really show off all of this. And even this first one, The Way of Ghost, gets some great vocals in there as well.
Ooh, nice.
So we're going to start here with The Way of the Ghost. And this is about 1:27 in. See, just building. You sense that conflict already.
Dang.
I got chills.
Damn, dude. Very sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the story
maybe
of
not-
Ghost and the setting, Ghost is kind of a sad game in that sense because his homeland is being invaded, his world is turned upside down, and this just you feel that emotion.
And sad maybe wasn't the right word there. It's more like a lament, a lamentation.
Yes. And so it's just powerful stuff, and you just really feel it, and you really feel that emotion,
Very
and everything like that. But this is a more slower track. Not, it sets up that emotion, but also
Let's take it back to Tekken.
let's jump back over to Sacrifice of Tradition, because this is one that is more set in a combat setting.
Oh, okay.
And is going to really show more. But I also still if you think about that conflict, the internal struggle, and apply what you're listing here, you can just see how it blends so well with the action that you see on screen, and just goes with the story of the game. It's great. I know I'll eventually, hopefully, do a full review on this game at some point. I should. I haven't. I keep forgetting to.
It feels like you have, because we have talked about it quite a bit.
I just still need to do the multiplayer stuff, and I want to do the expansion and do the whole thing all at once. Iki Isle or something like that.
Yeah.
I want to play those. But anyway, here's some more the battle centric tracks. This is Sacrifice of Tradition. About 2 minutes 12 seconds in.
Those taiko drums.
That frenzied strings.
Yeah.
Get the big beats of the taiko drums.
Ooh, and then a little bit of flute there in the background.
Yep.
Oh, that actually might be the shamisen. No, I think it is the flute. Sorry, I can't quite tell.
But still, like, you see what I mean? Like, it's powerful stuff.
I mean, this one gives both a lot of urgency and desperation.
Yes. Which is kind of what you're fighting against, or fighting through this whole entire game. So I just think
I'm not sure if this was the scene at the time, but I am imagining a village on fire.
It could have been.
It
I honestly
have
don't
been,
remember either from because it's been the exact moments. But it's just one of those things, you just hear it, it just sticks with you, and it's just one that immediately brings about goosebumps, makes me just feel all the emotions. And it's just one of those not few and far between times, but just where it just really, the music and the game really complement each other and feed off of each other, and just makes a incredible score. So, Ghost of Tsushima by Ilan Eshkeri and Shigeru Imebayashi.
Good job.
All right. So what you got?
We are going to take the hardest of left turns. We are going to take such a hard left turn. So this is a game that I really truly did not think of until I literally sat down at my console, like my entertainment center, and looked at the games that I have played more or less within the past 2 years. And what's the game this year, other than Tekken 8, that I accidentally put more hours into than almost every other?
Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line?
Oh, no, not quite, but a really good choice. And actually not Coral. Oh, so quick aside, I was going to try to feature a couple of tracks from Coral Island, because it does have a really good soundtrack, but I could find almost no information on the composer or the process, and that was really something that I was trying to focus a little bit more on this time around.
Sure.
So Coral Island does get an honorary shout out, but we're not going to be talking about those tracks. Instead, I want to talk about sort of the purpose of the soundtrack in a game where music is really not the point.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about Dishonored 2.
Ooh.
So I really didn't think about Dishonored or Dishonored 2 at all in any of our previous installments of Music Sounds for a pretty obvious reason. That being that most of the tracks that you hear while you're playing the game really fall into the category of ambient music.
Okay.
They are not... Dishonored is a game predominantly about stealth. Most people are going to be playing it in a very action stealth sort of way. It's about stealth. It's about planning your routes. It's about quiet approaches. It's about silent takedowns. It is, for the most part, not about big, bombastic, or even really emotional journeys.
Right.
So the music is there to, A, set the place. It is there to create a sense of setting of where you are, when you are. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then it's also there to just sort of be the quiet backdrop around which you plan your assault. How do you decide to get from point A to point B?
Right.
Dishonored is a thinking person's game.
This is like music to put on while you're doing a study sesh,
really
or like looking at the spreadsheets.
Actually, that's so funny that you say the word study. So the track that I want us to listen to is called, actually, I'm not going to tell the people what it's called.
Oh, okay.
I want you to listen to the track, and then you tell me what sort of environment comes to mind when you hear it. All right, it's definitely more ambient, so really listen.
I get what you mean by the ambient, just very quiet, very subdued.
Very quiet. A little bit of strings.
Yeah. Like stretched out there, built that tension.
Definitely tense.
Yeah. I'm getting nervous.
You should be. You should be getting nervous. Jesus. You should be nervous. That's like what everybody in the game is thinking at all times.
Oh, God.
The Royal Protector.
Yeah, that little
little bit
of a distress.
Of extra, like a bit of a trilled distress on the violin there.
Ooh. It's building.
And how those drum beats almost feel like approaching footsteps.
Yeah. Heart rate increasing.
Yeah. All right, we can kind of scale this down even more, or it can be the backdrop while we talk over it, because it's so ambient.
Yeah.
It is not meant to intrude. So what kind of environment comes to mind when you hear that, like as far as a place?
I'm kind of seeing this maybe like you're trying to sneak around during like a like the back rooms of like a banquet, something going on.
Ooh,
or
okay.
like some kind of like a ball, a gala perhaps.
Ooh, all
and you're
right.
just like up in the roof in the, in the shadows, kind of sneaking around, crawling through the hallways, ducking around corners.
Fantastic. You are very close.
Okay,
so
cool.
that is the track that plays in the Royal Conservatory. So it's the dead of night in Karnaca. Karnaca is sort of a more Mediterranean place, but by that track, you really wouldn't know that.
Wouldn't know, yeah.
No, because the whole vibe of the Royal Conservatory is it's very stuffy.
Yeah.
This is a place of learning. It's not really a university, but it is where all of the collected science
There are
of the
many
region,
leather-bound books.
many leather-bound tomes, many stuffed dead animals, and the remnants of, there having been previous expos, galleries, all that kind of stuff. So that's the vibe that they're trying to set, is how do we make you feel like you are in basically a really big museum/library,
Yeah.
but that you are under extreme threat at all times, and that you are the threat.
Oh, yeah.
You are the knight. You are Corvo. Or Emily, but in the case of Emily, I was going really fast and not being quiet, so it was a very different track. But so that's really a great example, I think, of a track that you don't think of outside of the game.
Yeah.
I would never think about the soundtrack for the Royal Conservatory or any of the other more ambient, stealthy tracks in Dishonored outside of the game itself.
Yeah.
But there is another way that you get a lot of personality from the game, and actually, pause. Not necessarily a pause. I told you we were going to do Karnaca battle theme.
Yeah.
I have since changed my mind.
Okay, go for it.
I actually do just want you to hear the intro theme to Dishonored 2.
Okay.
Because I feel like it does such a good job of creating personality.
Okay.
All right, so let's listen to... sometimes you really got to drag the
drag
thing.
it on
Just
back.
Drag it on back. Let's put it like right there. That's good. All right, here we go.
All right.
You might want to turn it back up.
Yeah.
So coming in with more of that ambiance.
Kind of sounds like a didgeridoo. Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds like mystery.
That's the harpsichord.
Intrigue.
Intrigue. Yes.
I love it.
What a perfect word for it. I'm pretty sure that's the harpsichord.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Ooh, or it might be one of the mandolins. There were a lot of
No,
mandolins.
that sounds like one of the hammer chord thing. I think you're on the right track there. Harpsichord, dulcimer.
Those violins coming.
Yeah. Oh, so good. This kind of gives me vampire vibes.
Yes, it
Vampire
really
soundtrack
does.
vibes. Yeah. No, that's really good. I like that a lot.
So the composer for Dishonored 2, Dishonored, and Dishonored Death of the Outsider, all three games were done by Daniel Licht.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his last name. I do apologize if it's actually Licht, but I'm going to say Licht because that's how I interpret that. I had no idea that he had also done the music for the Dexter TV series.
That's how I knew the name.
Yeah,
Okay. The
Dan-
Dexter theme song is one of my favorite TV theme songs.
And now you know
And
why,
now I know
because
why.
the Dishonored soundtrack slaps
I knew that
super
name sounded
hard.
familiar.
But I think it's also so wonderful that they had the same composer for the entire series right before his untimely death.
Oh,
He
I didn't
actually
know he
passed away, I think, maybe back in 2018 or 2019. So unfortunately, Daniel Licht is no longer with us. But before he went, he left us with a wonderful legacy of soundtracks.
Yeah.
And he did quite a few interviews. So in an article that I am getting from Gaming Audio News, the article is called "How Daniel Licht Shaped the Music of the Dishonored Series." And one of the particular excerpts from this article that I wanted to point out is. This is a quote from Thomas Mitten, senior sound designer at Arcane Leon. He said, during pre-production of Dishonored, so the first game, we defined two main guidelines for our music. We knew we wanted to avoid brass instruments.
Ooh, okay.
So in all of the Dishonored series,
No
you will
horns.
be hard-pressed to find not nary a horn in sight or in sound. So we knew we wanted to avoid brass instruments and instead favor the stringed instruments, especially... favorite of the show, the cello
Love
and
it.
the harpsichord, to support the nostalgia of a once flourishing empire in decline. So they go on to say that they really picked specifically the harpsichord and a few of those other instruments to give you that sense that you were absolutely in 1800s London.
Yeah.
That you're in 1800s Edinburgh. It's dark, it's smoggy, it's spooky. Even during the day, it's dark out because of all the smog. It's no good out here. Oh, also, just a quick other side. Daniel Licht also did a lot of the music for the Silent Hill series.
Oh, nice.
So he's a master of just like doubling down on ambient creepiness. So good at that. But then the article goes on to continue and say that there was a moment during development of Dishonored 2 when we were in a video conference with Daniel explaining to him how Dishonored 2 would differ from Dishonored 1 in terms of location, characters, and the culture of Karnaca versus Dunwall. More of that Mediterranean culture that we've talked about. So Smith explains he stood up during the video call, walked to the back of his studio and grabbed and I am so sorry for how I'm about to say this word because I know it's not going to be right. He grabbed a bazooki, a bozokai.
Oh, okay.
It is Bouzouki brackets a Greek guitar. So what you need to know is that it is a type of Greek guitar. He just grabbed this thing off the wall because you know how you just be in music sometimes and you've just got a bazooki on your wall. So he returned to where he'd been sitting and he started to play Dishonored music with this Mediterranean flavor and we all got chills. It was exactly what we were looking for.
Nice.
He nailed it on the first try.
Love to hear it.
And I watched a couple of videos that we didn't really have a lot of commentary over them, but YouTube actually had quite a few videos of sort of behind the scenes snippets into the making of the Dishonored soundtrack. And in so many of those clips, Daniel himself is shown playing a wide variety of instruments.
Yeah.
He plays those Greek guitars. He plays like a bunch of different mandolins. He's got such a wide range of skill at his fingertips. I mean, I'm sure we truly seem to have lost a musical genius when he passed. But I really wanted to feature Dishonored because I feel like it's such a great example of setting.
Yeah.
Of setting the expectation without intruding on the player's experience. You just want to be the backdrop. Sometimes, just like Corvo, you want to melt into the shadows. So even though Dishonored isn't nearly as, or at least these particular tracks aren't nearly as emotional or bombastic or wild like Tekken, I feel like they are great examples of a soundtrack doing its job.
Hell yeah. Love it. Great stuff there. So my last pick is one that we are, that everyone is somewhat fairly used to, or not, that's not the word, that not used to. Is fairly knowledgeable of if you're in our circles of Team Chat as of late, because it's one that we both just played. And it is the soundtrack for Bramble the Mountain King. So this one is it's by Martin Wave and Dan Wakefield. And if you remember from our stream of Bramble the Mountain King, it's a horror game for one, like folk horror game. Make no doubt about it. It is horror.
Yeah.
And so you're expecting then a lot of like that unsettling music to really like help sell it, which this game does have in spades. But to your point about with Dishonored, it is a lot more ambient because again, it's trying to set that nervous energy, that suspense, that intensity as you're trying to either sneak past various horrors or being chopped up in various horrors. Because this game takes from Nordic folklore, and you're followed as these two children, Ole and Lillemor, and you're navigating through this forest and just trying to survive. Just trying to live. And just trying to get away. Because your sister Lillemor has been kidnapped and is, eventually, slight spoilers for the game, taken to the titular Mountain King.
The mountain
and
with
you
the
have,
king in
and
it.
you have to rescue her. And so like kind of what you're saying, the music it builds that tone and it builds that setting of unease and creepiness that is just fraught throughout this game.
Fraught is a great word to describe Bramble in general.
But what I love is that the music also takes inspiration from its Nordic roots. For example, like the main theme, just called Bramble, really has, which I love this instrument name, the hurdy-gurdy.
The hurdy-gurdy.
And if you've ever seen it, it's like kind of a stringed instrument. It's used a lot in like most like Norse video games, movies, and stuff like that. Bear McCreary used it heavily in the God of War Ragnarok soundtrack and everything like that, and in the original too. But in the God of War 2018 soundtrack. But I think especially for the main theme of Bramble, using the hurdy-gurdy in the way that they did is just a great use of it. It also is one of the more, I will say, louder songs that's in the Bramble soundtrack. That's not necessarily trying to like be that ambient background music, but still, I think right off the jump, this does a fantastic job of setting the scene and kind of letting you know, ooh, this isn't going to be the wonderful little folk fairy tale that I'm thinking this could potentially be.
We're looking at the cover art in the video, and actually, this is the first time I've ever noticed that off of the sides of the trees, those aren't just branches; they are arms. They are human arms.
Oh my god! I just noticed that too.
They're arms and hands. Yeah,
that's terrifying.
It's more horrifying than we
than
initially
you think.
thought.
This is like some midsummer shit.
It really is.
But anyway, here is the main theme to Bramble, the Mountain King. Bramble.
Is that the Gertie?
That's the Hurdy of the Gertie.
If I had 2 more cats, I would name them Hurdy and Gertie.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that would be so cute.
Change the boys' names immediately. But it's just like...
It almost sounds like a horn.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that it is a stringed instrument because it has so
Because it has
much.
like a crank to it too.
Yeah. What a wild instrument.
Right?
It
Like
makes
obviously
me...
it gets parodied because now there's the percussion in there too, but still it's like that again is giving me goosebumps like in a different way.
As soon as the percussion kicked in, it made me think about like rowing a big boat through like dark waters.
Yeah. Which you actually do in this game.
Row a boat. And it is horrifying.
But it's unsettling, and it immediately adds that to the game. And in just us talking about it, we immediately were like, oh shit, this is scary.
God.
I don't like it.
Unsettling, fraught, unlike, even though it is sort of a more ambient track, unlike with Dishonored, where you're Corvo Atano and or Emily Caldwin.
Yeah.
You are powerful and you feel powerful.
Yeah.
This game,
You are the opposite of powerful.
You got no powers. You are tiny. You are very killable.
very squishy.
So squishy and mortal. And I feel like the soundtrack does a great job of really just inspiring fear.
Yes, it really does.
And to a certain extent, a bit of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Because your chances of survival are slim.
They really are.
They are so slim.
And like I said, the music primarily is very ambient, very kind of subtle throughout, and you just like feel that uneasiness and tension that it builds. But the game, though, in both the climax of the game and of the soundtrack, I would say, it really happens at the end where you are in the main boss fight or the final boss fight against the Mountain King again. And it's very cool because I think that the composers Martin Wave and Dan Wakefield really took the opportunity to just cook for a second by taking an old song, an old classical song that you may recognize,
A public domain song, importantly.
Edvard Grieg's In the Halls of the Mountain King, which is, you may recognize it. It's the dun 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 dun, and that's what you have. Normally when you hear it, I always associate that song with like Christmas shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like, we got to hurriedly wrap all the presents and get them under the tree because it's about morning and the kids aren't going to wake up to an empty
You're thinking
tree.
about like elves in the workshop.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. And this game takes that and it spins it on its head where it makes it horrifying because you're in the final boss fight. Each stage of the fight, the music gets more intense and builds upon it and builds and builds and builds to where you're getting to the final part, the final stage of that boss fight. The music hits its like crescendo too, and it's just kind of overwhelming. And so let's hear a little bit of the most intense part of that track, which is called The Mountain King. So here we go. It's got like the extra vocals. Just like the big impacts, the bit like heavy hitting percussion to it, the vocal background, like I love it. It's just so like built on like an old, classic song, and they really got to make it their own and fit it into this game so well.
And I feel like, at least in my case, they really snuck it up on me because when I was initially getting into this fight, I did not recognize the song. Like it hadn't kicked in enough in a way for me to be like, oh yeah, I know what that song is.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got it, I was like, oh my God.
And it's awesome.
It's
and it just like
awesome.
elevates it because
Yeah.
it's just so cool and such a great use of it. And it fits obviously well. It's called In the Halls of the Mountain King. Of course they had to use it
Of course.
in the soundtrack of this game.
And
but
I
yeah.
mean, speaking of it really like syncing up to the gameplay, during that battle, you know, we talk about that sort of pounding,
Yeah.
driving percussion. In that battle, like huge rocks are falling from the ceiling, and
And
they
hitting.
often do so in time with the music.
It's just so well done.
It is so well done. Yeah, very
So
well done.
I had to give a shout out to Bramble because that is just I thought just a really, really clever use of music and an old property like that, and just taking it and really using it to the greatest benefit.
I
But
think more soundtrack composers for video games should be dipping into the public domain well to just see what they can find.
just do some covers and find out what
I've
you can
been working
make
on the
happen.
railroad. Where's that one?
Waiting to hear it. Waiting to hear it.
What's the one about something Dinah?
Oh,
Working in the kitchen with Dinah or something like that.
all those old
I
American folk
know.
songs.
Yeah, all those old American folk songs.
I was thinking of one that something to do with Eliza.
Oh,
There's a
I
hole
always heard
in
Dinah.
my bucket. Is that what it is?
I don't
There's
know.
a hole in my bucket,
Bucket.
Eliza,
Eliza.
Eliza. There's a
Yeah,
hole
where's
in
that
my
in
bucket,
video games?
Eliza, a hole.
Oh my god.
All right, well, hit me with your last pick. This
All
is
right.
your three.
This is my triplicate.
Your
yes,
triplicate.
So, these
I'm
are my
excited to
triples.
learn about this one.
We are going to go straight into it. Go ahead and just hit play.
All right, here we go. Ooh, I like it. Fast-paced. It's
Fast-paced.
energetic. It's got a good beat to it. I could put this back. Can I make a lo-fi beats version of this?
Yes, you definitely could.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
It's poppy. It's peppy.
It is.
I love it.
It sounds glittery.
Yes.
It sounds shiny.
Yeah.
It sounds chrome. It
Yep.
sounds futuristic.
Yes.
It sounds fast, obviously, like very fast paced.
Yeah. Oh, some vocals in
A
there.
little bit of vocals in there.
Nice.
Not much, but we've pretty much got what I wanted to sort of set the stage with.
All right.
So when I went back and watched our previous episode about it, I specifically made a mention that I wasn't going to talk about Neon White then. I was
Yeah.
going to save it for later. And I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
oh, thank God I went back and watched this.
Because people would have come out and said, "You're a fucking liar. You said you were going to talk about Neon White, and you didn't."
And I didn't. So now I'm talking about Neon White. So that is Glass Ocean from Neon White. And that track plays at what is considered like the earliest stages of the game.
Okay.
So these are your sort of like pseudo tutorial levels where you're learning how the game works, how the flow of the game is, because it is, as we've talked about before, a speed running game.
Yeah.
The point of Neon White is to be fast and furious, and to do that within whatever setting it throws at you, be it Glass Ocean, which in this case is a very like brightly lit, sunny, very, very shiny setting in and of itself where you're like gliding across water, across these sort of like porcelain structures. Everything is white and bright and beautiful, and it's sort of luring you into this false sense of like, it's probably isn't going to be so bad. It's probably going to
But
be
it
okay.
is.
But it gets a little bit scarier later down the line. But so the entire soundtrack for Neon White is by Machine Girl, which is actually, I believe, an electronic duo made up of Matt Stevenson, who was the founding member and is now like the primary producer of the group, and Sean Kelly, I think, who does keyboard, piano. I'm not entirely sure on the split there, but it is now a duo. They did all of the tracks together. I believe Neon White has something along the lines of like 70 odd tracks.
Oh my God.
But
Stacked.
they are all like, look at the timestamps.
Oh.
This next one is only 1:07. Glass Ocean was only about 1:37. You basically heard half the song when we just listened to it. And the next one we're going to listen to is even still like 1:20.
Yeah.
They're all very, very short, and they are meant to loop because it is assumed that you will probably fail a few times before
Sure,
you make it
sure.
to the level. But when you do finally make it through that level, you're doing it in less than a minute in a lot of cases. So part of the reason that all these tracks are so short is because to a certain extent, they have to be.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be listening to them for 45 minutes while you dick around in Dragon Age.
I would be listening to it for 45 minutes because it would take me that long to actually beat the levels, but that's a topic for another day.
And so that's the thing, when you do take that long, you do actually kind of get a little treat with it. It kind of feels like, feels very rewarding because you're like, well, the track slaps so hard. Who cares if I'm failing?
Yeah.
But these next two so I picked Glass Ocean because I feel like it is such a good introduction to the environment and to the personality of Neon White.
Yeah.
But I picked the next two tracks, Bloody Sneakers and Light in the Fog, because they are character-specific themes.
Cool.
So let's listen to Bloody Sneakers first.
Still kind of got that same energy to it.
Similar energy, but a lot more flats, a lot more sharps. It's a little discordant, isn't it?
Yeah. I like it, though.
It kind of feels like something's not quite right.
Yeah.
It almost feels a little desynchronized on purpose.
Yep.
And it's much more industrial.
Yeah.
This is a much more industrial track.
Feels a little more like almost muted in a way, too. Like the sound quality is lesser in a way. It's cool.
Yeah, like
it.
the quality was turned down.
Yeah.
It's grungier, it's grittier.
Yeah.
And that is very appropriate for the character that it represents. So Bloody Sneakers is Violet's theme. So Neon Violet is one of your competitors / compatriots in the context of the game. And she, as a character, is your problematic, unhinged waifu. she is off her rocker. She's portrayed as like a very young woman.
Yeah.
But she loves grenades and blowing things up. And her entire way of showing love is through violence.
Oh, okay.
She's fucked up. And I feel like her theme does a great job of sort of giving you a window into that slightly off-kilter vibe that she's got.
Okay.
Then let's listen to Light in the Fog.
Here we go. That almost seems like you could slow down a smidge. It would be like an aquatic song in Donkey Kong.
Oh, yeah. You hear those little things in
do.
the background that kind of sound like bubbles floating up and down?
Yep. See?
It'll pick a little bit.
See, this is good background music still, even, I think, for I could do some work to this. I would do motion graphics to the Doom soundtrack, for God's sake.
This is a perfect work soundtrack.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it really,
It's like relaxing in a way.
Yes, relaxing is a great way to phrase it. But it's also a little bit complex.
Yeah.
Like it's got a lot of different layered effects, and some of it sort of sounds like almost church bells in a certain extent. So this is Neon Red's theme.
Okay.
And Red is really sort of Neon White's love interest. And she is more the adult female character.
Is this who I'm looking at here
That's
in this
who you're
picture?
looking at
All
on
right.
it. So they've got actually two different album covers because the soundtrack itself was split into two parts because it is
Don't
so
you love
gigantic.
it? Don't you love it?
Neon Violet is actually on the first cover.
Okay.
So the first, I forget what the first part of the track is called. Wake Me Up Inside? I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But the second part of the track is called The Burn That Cures.
Okay.
And this one features Violet Red on the cover and Neon White on the cover. Excuse me, Neon Red on the cover and Neon White on the cover. And her whole character is the older, more experienced, more refined character.
Okay.
She's elegant.
Yep.
She's classy.
Yep.
She's not out here chucking grenades and dropping F-bombs right, left, and center. She might hit you a little, but it's okay. We're all having fun here. We're all adults. So she is definitely a very different character, and I feel like these two tracks juxtaposed against each other do a great job of showing how you can tell so much of a character's story just through the soundtrack.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else to sort of give you information about the vibe of the game beyond what you're listening to here and the vibe of the character. I mean, Neon White's entire soundtrack is just an absolute knock it out of the park situation.
Sounds like it. This is the first bit I've ever heard of it, and now I'm like, I gotta listen to the
buddy,
whole thing.
You gotta go
I don't know
listen
why it's
to
taking
the
me so long.
whole
You've
thing.
talked about how good the music is for so long, and now
I know.
Now, it's time for me to catch up.
So I do want to pull out just a couple of quotes from an old Kotaku article, which was about the Neon White soundtrack. So this is from Ashley Barden. In her article, Neon White wouldn't be freaky without Machine Girl's music. And I believe that statement is 100% true. So where's the little bit that oh yes. So she asked Ben Esposito, which is Neon White's developer, and Matt Stevenson, the producer and one of the primary members of Machine Girl, how they made the soundtrack happen. So, first of all, it started all the way back in 2020.
Woo.
During the pandemic. And very notably, this is again one of those oops all bangers on the first try example. Because even though Machine Girl had been making music for a long time before this, this was their first effort at making video game music.
Nice.
So Esposito, the game's developer, just sort of blindly reached out to Stevenson via email and was like, "Hey man, love your music. I'm making a game.
Incredible.
You want to make the music for it?" And incredibly, it did actually turn out being something that really worked out for them. So this is again from Ashley's article. Video games and Machine Girl discography are best friends, and their relationship is cherished. Eli Shoup, an experimental music writer, told me that, quote, Machine Girl is sick because they take the break beats and MIDI instrumentals from early PS1 and Sega Saturn games and infuse it with hardcore and rave shit in a way few others have.
I was going to say, it
that's
has...
a great, yeah.
Well, I mean, I called it out. I said that it sounded like that one could be an aquatic theme in a Donkey Kong.
Yes,
like
and you are so... Actually, it is really funny that you pointed that out because earlier in the article, they talk about how Esposito reached out to Machine Girl about this because they were so obsessed with Machine Girl's previous album/track. The album was 2015's Gemini. The track was Cyan Hardcore, which was from a 2020 EP repurposed Fantasies, which was sort of they described it as, I'm in a game underwater. Quality to that soundtrack.
Yeah.
So that really made Esposito go, oh, this would be perfect for my game. And I feel like you are absolutely hearing that in real time when you hear Glass Ocean, for example.
That's awesome.
And Light in the Fog. So yeah, the Neon White soundtrack is just a phenomenal mix of like digital hardcore, occasional really like heavy industrialism, and also really sleek chrome elements just all over the place.
I'm loving it.
You should listen to every track. They're all like under 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
You can blast through it in a day easily.
I'm going to have to listen to that tomorrow for sure. Man.
Good picks
Good picks all around.
Yeah.
My God, just some great absolute bops and bangers that we brought to you today.
Maybe not the Dishonored ambient theme, but you got the idea.
Still, I got the idea with it. And I mean, I would put that on and listen to it. I would listen to it in the background while doing stuff on the computer. That's partially what makes I feel like the soundtrack episodes a little difficult too, because so much of video game music can be just that ambient.
Yeah.
And so like really picking out those ones that stick out and stand out to us. I mean, it was so hard to not want to just go back and talk about more Cult of the Lamb music this time, because that's also just fantastic bangers left, right, and center. But so, there's a lot of great music out there, and it's hard to sometimes get through all of the great stuff to find the true gems that you want to bring forth. But hey, that's what we did for you today. So a quick rundown again of the games that we talked about. I talked about Mortal Kombat 1, Ghost of Tsushima, and then the last one, Bramble, the Mountain King.
Yep. I had Tekken 8, Dishonored 2, and kind of Dishonored 1, and Neon White.
Boom. All great soundtracks for you all to go enjoy for this next week. But if you have some favorite soundtracks that you would really, if you're famous though too, let us know. We love meeting famous people. But if you have any favorite soundtracks that you would like to share with us, please jump over to the Discord or leave a comment wherever you're listening to or watching the episode right now.
We have a dedicated channel for soundtracks.
Literally, it's called Soundtracks. It's very easy to find, and we get some great stuff shared in there. So we would love to hear more of your favorite video game music. But that wraps up this episode of Team Chat Podcast for this week. Come back next time for another great episode. But until then, I'm one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see you all next time.